Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. Today, we will start a new chapter in history, and the chapter is Kingdoms, Kings, and an Early Republic. This chapter is about the period of 2500 years ago. And in this chapter, we will discuss how new kingdoms and kings became to how what changes come about in the new kings and new kingdoms. So, what happens at present? We choose our leaders in a democratic setup. What happens that people have the right to choose their leaders, as you have read in your civics book. We are living in democratic government, and under this democratic government, people used to choose their leaders by using their right to vote. But we are studying about the ancient time, the time that was around 3500 years ago, which we have studied in the previous chapter. During that time, what we found that the Rajas were probably chosen by the Jana. Jana, the common people. So at that time, the concept of Raja was very new, and the people used to choose their Raja. But this practice was not long lived, because we find that around 3000 years ago, many changes took place in the way which Rajas were chosen. So one of the new change which occurred in the way of choosing the Raja was the performance of big sacrifices like Aswamegha Yagya. Aswamegha Yagya or horse sacrifice was one such ritual which was performed by Raja, so that he can become a bigger Raja. So in this Aswamegha or horse sacrifice, what was done that a horse was let loose to wander freely. Okay, the king who was performing the sacrifice, the horse sacrifice, what he did, he let loose a horse, and the horse was completely free to wander anywhere. And the horse was not alone. It was guarded by Raja's men. Raja's soldiers were also there with the horse. And what happened that if the horse wandered into the kingdom of other Rajas and they stopped it, then what happened? They had to fight. The horse is wandering freely. Suppose the horse wandered into the kingdom of other Raja, and the other Raja stopped the horse that it should not wander in my territory. If the other Raja stops the horse, then what happened? Then that other Raja had to fight. And if the other Raja allows the horse to pass, okay, it can pass from my territory, I have no objection. Suppose the Raja says, the other Raja, then what happened? Then it means that that Raja has accepted the fact that the Raja who is performing the sacrifice was stronger than him, and so he is not stopping the horse. He is allowing the horse to pass through his territory, and he did not want to fight with the Raja who is performing the sacrifice, because he knows that if there will be fight between him and the Raja who is performing the sacrifice, then he will be defeated because the Raja who is performing the sacrifice is more powerful. He is stronger than him. So this was a horse sacrifice, and those Rajas who accepted that the Raja who is performing sacrifice is stronger than them, these Rajas were invited to the sacrifice. Okay, and this sacrifice, horse sacrifice, was performed by a specially trained priest. And the Raja who organized the sacrifice was recognized as very powerful. So, any Raja cannot perform this horse sacrifice. If a Raja is performing horse sacrifice, it means he is very powerful. Then only he can perform it, because he has let loose a horse to wander freely, and that horse will pass through the territory of other Raja's kingdom, and if the Raja is not stopping, if the other Rajas are not stopping the horse, then it means that all those territories are coming under the control of the Raja who is performing the sacrifice. And suppose the Raja who is sacrificing, who is doing the horse sacrifice is not a powerful Raja, then in that case what will happen? When the horse uh, will pass through the territory of other Raja, then other Raja will stop the horse, because they know that the Raja who is performing the sacrifice is not very strong. They can defeat that Raja. So they will stop the horse, and there will be fight between the two Rajas, and in this way the horse sacrifice will not be fruitful. So the horse sacrifice was done by the powerful Raja only. Okay, and whoever come for the observing the sacrifice used to brought gifts for the Raja. Okay, and in this sacrifice, so many rituals were performed by the Raja, and the Raja was the central figure. Okay, the Raja was the central figure in these rituals, and generally he used to sit on a throne or a tiger skin. Okay, and his charioteer, who was his companion in the battlefield and witnessed his exploits, used to chant tales of his glory. So what happened? How this horse sacrifice was performed? This was performed by specially trained priest, and the Raja was given the central figure in these rituals. He used to sit on a throne or a tiger skin, and his charioteer, one who drives the chariot. If there is any kind of battle, if the king is involved in any kind of battle, then the king moves on chariot. In the previous chapter, you have read how chariots were important in the battle, isn't it? So Raja used to move in chariot. And who was the driver of the chariot? The driver of the chariot is called charioteer. And this charioteer uh, was a very important role to play, because he was with Raja in the battlefield. He used to be with Raja in the battlefield, and he is witnessing all the acts of bravery of Raja in the battlefield. How the Raja defeats the enemy, how he do all the aggressive activities. So he has witnessed all the bravery acts of the Raja. So in when this horse sacrifice is done, at that time this charioteer plays a very important role, he chant the tales of his glory in the form of a song, in the form of a poem. He used to chant how the Raja defeated his enemy, how brave he is. So, other than this chariot, there is relatives of Raja, his wives and sons. They also had to perform rituals, but these rituals are minor rituals. The most important ritual is performed by the Raja, and minor rituals are performed by the wives of the king and sons of the king. And the other Rajas who were invited to the sacrifice, they were simply spectators. They don't have to perform any ritual. They were only sitting there and watching the sacrifice. Okay, and the priest performed the rituals. Then he also sprinkled the sacred water on the king. You must have experienced this kind of ritual in your house also. Whenever there is a special puja is organized in your house, you must have witnessed that the priest sprinkle the sacred water on people. So the in this horse sacrifice, the priest used to sprinkle sacred water on the king. And there were ordinary people also. These ordinary people, which were known as Vish or Vaishya, also brought gifts. Okay. And some people, such as those who were regarded as Sutras by the priest, were excluded from many rituals. So now, after this discussion of horse sacrifice, we will discuss the Varna system, and then you will come to know about the Sudras in detail. So, common people who were known as Vish or Vaishya, they used to come with gifts, and Sudras who were also the part of the common people, but they were not allowed to perform any kind of worship. And now we will discuss the Varna system which was prevailing in the society. In the previous chapter, we have discussed that there were four Vedas, and the Rig Veda was the earliest composition. And after Rig Veda, there were three more Vedas were written, and they were Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. And these Vedas which were written after the Rig Veda, they are known as later Vedic. You can see it here. So these books are often called later Vedic, and the period of these books when they were written are called later Vedic period. Okay, so Rig Veda was the earliest composition, and these three Vedas were written after that, and these are known as later Vedic period, later Vedic books. And one more thing which is important to understand, that the Rig Veda was composed in the northwestern part of the subcontinent, uh, especially the areas which were drained by Indus and its tributaries. But now these later Vedic books were composed in North India. Okay, and in North India, especially the area which was drained by Ganga and the Yamuna. Okay, so whatever we are going to know through these later Vedic books, these are about the North India, the region which was drained by the Ganga and the Yamuna. And who were the composer of these Vedas? Priest. In the previous chapter also we have seen that priest used to compose the Vedas. And in these Vedas there is a description of rituals, how they have to be performed. and they also contained rules about society. So these later Vedic books contain about the details of ritual and also about the rules of society. And at that time, what we see that there were different groups in society, and like priests and warriors, farmers, herders, traders, craft persons, laborers, fishing folk, and forest people. So these were the different people who used to live in that society. And in this society, what we see that their economic disparity was also existing. Economic inequality. What is the meaning of economic inequality? Some priests and warriors were rich, and some farmers and traders were also rich. But there were many like herders, craft persons, laborers, fishing folk, and hunters and gatherers who were poor. So we can see that there were people according to their work, different groups of people according to their work, like priest, warrior, farmer, all these are the group of people. And what is the basis of group is the work, nature of work they do. And then we see that society was also divided into rich and poor. And now we will see that the priest has divided the people in four groups. And these four groups were called varnas. Who made this division? This division was made by the priests. And according to this varna system, each varna had a different set of functions. What was the basis of varna? The basis of varna was the work each varna was supposed to do. So the first varna was Brahmin. Who were Brahmins? Brahmins were those who used to study and teach the Vedas. They were the people who was given right to study and teach the Vedas by the society. Other than studying and teaching Veda, they also performed sacrifices. As we have seen in the horse sacrifice, this sacrifice was done by priest. So their another function was perform sacrifice. This was the first function: study and teach the Vedas, perform sacrifice, and receive gifts. So what was the function of Brahmins? It was to receive gifts, because they are performing sacrifices. So when people will come to observe the sacrifice, to watch the sacrifice, they will bring gifts with them, and for the priest. Okay, so these were the three functions which were assigned to the Brahmins by this Varna system. And in the second place were the rulers, also known as Kshatriyas. So these were the rulers, and the name is given Kshatriya. So the first is Brahman, second is Kshatriyas. They were expected to fight battles and protect people, because Kshatriyas were the rulers. So their prime function was to fight battle and protect people. Now the third group was called Vish or Vaishya, which we have studied in the previous chapter also. They were expected to be farmers, herders, and traders. Both the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas could perform sacrifice. So, the third group was the group of Vaishyas, and these Vaishyas were they can be farmers, they can be herders, they can be traders also. And in the society, these Kshatriyas and Vaisyas were allowed to perform sacrifice. Okay, so the Brahmin was at the top position of the society. He was there to perform sacrifice and receive gifts and study and teach the Vedas. And then the position, then at the second position was Kshatriyas, and third position was given to the Vaisyas. And now we will see the people, the group of people who were at the last position. These were called Sudras. Sudras who had to serve the other three groups and could not perform rituals. This group of people, which was called Sudras, they their function was, what was their function? Their function was to serve the other three groups. Okay, and they were not allowed to perform any rituals. And what we see that often women were also grouped with the Sudras, because women were also not allowed to perform any rituals. Okay, so women were also grouped with the Sudras. Both of them were not allowed to study the Vedas. Now we see the priest also said that these groups were decided on the basis of birth. What was the basis of this Varna system? The basis of this Varna system was birth. Though we see that it was firstly at first this division was done on the basis of work only. But with the passage of time, what happened is that the basis of this division was changed. In the later Vedic period, we see that this Varna system came to be based on the birth. If one's father and mother were Brahmin, one would automatically become a Brahmin. So what is the basis why a person is Brahmin? Because he has taken birth in a Brahmin family. That's all. You don't need to be, you don't need to have any special quality for being grouped in any Varna. You only need to take birth in a family. If you are taking birth in the family of a Brahmin, then you will be Brahmin. If you are taking birth in the family of a Sudras, then you will be Sudras. So this was the condition, and this system was not a good system. It was based on the principle of inequality, because we see that all people were not treated equally. And after some time, what we see that firstly तो क्या किया गया कि सूत्रास को कहा गया कि no, they cannot read the Vedas, they cannot perform any ritual. Their function is to serve the other three groups. And after some time, they classified these people, these Sudras, as untouchable. Untouchable means these were the people who were considered to be they should not be touched by the other three groups, other three varnas. You have read about this untouchability, this problem of untouchability, this problem of inequality in your civics book also, when we were studying the story of B.R. Ambedkar. When he was 9 years old, you must be remembering, he was going to see his father, and what kind of problem he had to face only because of his caste. Because he belonged to a Dalit community. He belonged to a community which was considered to be untouchable. So Sutras are the present day Dalits. Okay, so with the passage of time, the system became more oppressive. समय के साथ साथ क्या हुआ, ये जो वर्णा सिस्टम था वो और भी खराब होता गया, बिकॉज इसमें कुछ लोगों को ये कहा जा रहा है कि उनसे हमें टच नहीं होना है. बाकी के जो 3 ग्रुप हैं, दैट इज ब्राह्मण, क्षत्रिय एंड वैश्यास, they should not be touched by the Sudras. And in these untouchables, who were included? These included some craft persons, hunters and gatherers, as well as people who helped perform burials and cremations. So, this was the system of society. The priest said that contact with these groups was polluting. If you come in contact with these people, then you will be polluted. So we can see the system. Many people did not accept the system of Varna laid down by the Brahmins. Everyone was not ready to accept this Varna system as said by the Brahmins. There were many who were opposing this system. Some kings thought that they were superior to the priest, because we see that in the Varna system, the priests were given the first position, top position. But now Kshatriyas, they were of the opinion, some kings, not all the Kshatriyas, but some kings were of the opinion that they should be given the first position. And then others felt that birth could not be a basis for deciding which Varna people belong to. We cannot decide the Varna of the people on the basis of birth. A person may take birth in the family of Brahmin, but he may not be an intelligent person. He may not be having those qualities of Brahmins. Still, he will be a Brahmin. So this kind of Varna system, which was based on the birth, was not correct. Then there were many people who thought that there should be no differences amongst people based on occupation. On the basis of occupation, we should not make differences between the people, because uh, every work is important. If someone is doing the burial work, someone is performing burials, then that is also important. If that person is not, if that person does not perform burials, then what will happen? How the function will be done? How that will be done? That will create a lot of trouble to the people. So they are helping us. So we should not discriminate on the basis of occupation. All occupation have their own importance. And there were many who condemned the practice of untouchability. There should not be this kind of practice in the society. Also, there were many areas in the subcontinent, such as Northeast, where social and economic differences were not very sharp, and where the influence of the priest was limited. So what we see, that in the northern region of the subcontinent, this problem was very grave, because in this region, in the northern region of the subcontinent, there was a great influence of priest, and the priest has made all the rules according to their own interest. They made all the rules in such a way that the rules should be beneficial to them only. But in the northeastern region, we see that this kind of social economic differences was not very sharp, and there was very less influence of the priest. So this was about the society. Now we will see Janpada. The Rajas who performed these big sacrifices were now recognized as being Rajas of Janpada. So up to now we have seen Jana, the Rajas of Jana. Okay. Now we are seeing the Rajas of Janpada. So what is the What is the idea behind this janas and janpadas? When uh, jana is smaller than janpada. Okay, jana, if you are a raja of jana, then you are a smaller king. Now you perform horse sacrifice and you will become a great king. You will become a king of janpada, because now your territory will be increased. Now new territories will be included in your territory. So you will become Raja of Janpada. So this is important. You must understand this. Ki after performing the big sacrifices, the Rajas became the Raja of Janpada. Janas become Janpada because the territory was increased. And what is the literal meaning of Janpada? The literal meaning of Janpada is the land where the Jana sets its foot. Pad. Pad का मतलब क्या होता है? पाँव. Jan, people. So Janpada is जहाँ पर लोगों ने अपने पाँव रखे हैं. Okay. The land where the Jana set its foot and settled down. Now we see that the archaeologists have excavated a number of settlements in these Janpadas. So we came to know about the Janpadas by the excavation done by archaeologists. And they have excavated a number of settlements in these Janpadas, such as Purana Kila in Delhi. These are the Janpada. Okay. Hastinapur near Meerut. Then Atranji Khera near Eta. Both these, Hastinapur and Atranji Khera, are in Uttar Pradesh, and Purana Kila in Delhi. So these are the important Janpadas which have been excavated by archaeologists, and they found that people used to live in huts in these Janpadas. Where did people live? People lived in huts and they kept cattle as well as other animals. So people were rearing the animals. They were the herders, and they were also farmers because they grew a variety of crops like rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, sesame, and mustard. Okay, so this is all for today's class, and now we will discuss the other important topics in the next class.